Welcome to your second lab prep video where we're going to talk about igneous rock identification. So in lab you're going to have a set of rocks and you're going to use a computer for your second portion of the lab, and then the lab documents that you should have printed out. And of course there's another identification chart just like you had in minerals. And this is going to help you figure out which type of igneous rock is what. So what I want to do here in this video is to run through some of the basic properties and steps that you're going to use to actually get the name of each of these rocks. And then you're going to be recording all of your observations in that blank ID chart and then determining which rock type you have. So the first step with identifying igneous rocks is to check out the color. We have light, dark, intermediate, and greenish in color. The light colored ones you can see here. We also call these felsic because they have felsic minerals present. Intermediate color are also called intermediate, and they tend to have this kind of intermediate color like salt and peppery, grayish colored to them. And then our next step up would be our darker colored minerals. These smaller examples here. And these darker colored ones are also called mafic igneous rocks. They're going to have this dark, black, grayish color to them. And then the last category are going to have this greenish tinge. Kind of see how green it is in comparison to the mafic dark colored ones. So the green colored igneous rocks are also called ultramafic igneous rocks. So the next step is to take a look at what minerals are present in your igneous rock. So in this case here we have a felsic, light-colored igneous rock, and in here we can see these big pink chunks throughout this mineral or this rock. And these pink chunks are all potassium feldspar. So when you see pink in an igneous rock, that's a sign that you have potassium feldspar present. You can also see this kind of faintish gray background in some of these. And you can see a little bit better here in these samples. You can see it kind of has this glassy color, maybe lightish gray in some of these. This is going to be quartz in your mineral. It's going to have this glassy clear look. The duller areas that are white are going to be also your potassium feldspar, but it's the white version of your potassium feldspar. And then your biotite is going to have these really, really thin bands within your rock, because remember from last week, biotite has those, breaks off in those nice flat, thin sheets, whereas amphibole has much longer, larger, rectangular shape to it in the rock, such as in this case here. You can see these really nice, long amphibole crystals that have that kind of rectangular shape to them. And then if you have a green colored mineral, like our ultramafic, this is full of olivine. You might see some bits of amphibole in there as well, but it's mostly going to be olivine. And then if we look at our mafic rock here, and I rotate it around, you can hopefully see some of these areas, like right here, that reflects the light when I move this sample. And what you're seeing here is a cleavage face of potassium, or of plagioclase feldspar. And sometimes you can even get some of the striations present too, but I don't see any in this sample. The next thing you'll look for is texture. So we have coarse-grained, where you can actually see all the different mineral crystals. So here you've got your potassium feldspar, your biotite, and your quartz. So this is going to be coarse-grained. If you have one that is fine-grained, you're not going to be able to see any mineral crystals at all. So here, fine-grained just has this dark color. I don't see any mineral crystals. They're too small for me to see with the naked eye. You can also have two different grain sizes in your rock sample. These two samples here have this kind of grayish colored background to them, which is the finer grained area. It's called the ground mass. and then it has these larger, darker chunks of minerals in it, in both of these samples here. And this is called porphyritic texture because you have two different grain sizes. You can also have little air bubble holes in your rock, so that's where gases have been trapped. We call that vesicular texture. And we can also have glassy, so obsidian is a good example. Most people know that one. So it has this glassy look to it. So glassy texture, glassy look. And then we can have what's called fragmental. So if we have all these random chunks of other rocks, fragments, maybe some air bubble holes in there, this is called fragmental, random chunks of stuff in your rock. So kind of a hint to this is your grain size correlates to how fast that rock cooled. So if you have little tiny crystals, that magma cooled super quick. Those little building blocks didn't have a chance to find each other in that magma as it was cooling. If it has bigger crystals, that's a sign that your cooling rate was much, much slower, and those building blocks had a chance to find each other in that magma and make these bigger minerals that you can see with the naked eye. So that's kind of the gist of identifying your igneous rocks. So that's the first part of your lab. Second part of your lab, you're going to look at some websites online and kind of compare some activity at different volcanoes around the world. So email me if you have questions, and I'll see you in lab.